and welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit Upgrade Hour. Now, for those of you that may be tuning in for the first time, this is a time for you to be finding a moment inside yourself to reflect, upgrade, and get better in tune with yourself, as well as having your questions answered, of which there are those that have sent in questions already, and I will be getting to those. But I always start these out with a centering process. And the centering process involves a bit of breath work. Okay. This is the 6 lotus breath breathing. And in order to back this up, we need to set ourselves in the mindset of understanding that literally everything all around us is just energy. Everything's energy. Everything's waves. It's only our 5 senses that put it into the holographic representation that we perceive things as life. There isn't actually anything outside of us. We've just got energy and waves all around us. And then when it hits our senses, our brain turns it into an image or an impression. And what I want you to do is to imagine all of these waves and energy particles floating around us are just bright golden white light. Particles, atoms, wave frequencies of this all around us, like raw energy. And then we breathe in. We are breathing this inside us. It's filling us up. And this is where we get our energy from. Our life-giving energy comes from the energy all around us that we're breathing in. Now, within the 6 lotus breath, we breathe in from different directions. So when I'm saying breathing in, imagine that golden white light of raw life-giving energy being breathed into us, okay? So we start, as we have done every one of these episodes so far, from breathing in to the center of our being, from this energy, in from the front, and out. And as we breathe out, imagine our energy, our aura, our body filling with this golden white light. Okay, so we're breathing in, it fills up, and as we're breathing out, golden white light. We're breathing in now from the front and the back. And breathe out that wonderful golden white light. Breathe in from the front, back, left and right now. Breathe in from the front, back, left, right, top and bottom now. And one final breath as if it's a sphere or a dome being breathed into us. And just center yourselves for a moment to your body. How does your body feel? Any aches or pains? How do your bones feel? Don't judge, just feel them. And center yourself here. Take the mind away. The moment that the mind has to focus on something. But if we force it to focus on something very simple, like what does something feel like, much of the clutter and mental noise that's going on just floats away, because there's one fundamental principle that exists both in psychology, science, life, that it's almost impossible to think and feel at the exact same moment. We can think and then feel shortly afterwards, and feel and then that leads to a thought, but that exact moment, it's very difficult, because that's the state of being. Actually, the state of being is when we are not thinking, but thinking and thought are woven delicately into a state of being, which is the combination of the mind and emotions weaving in a beautiful synastry, but that's only done by our soul. So, and when we're at this moment where we're just feeling our body, the mind's out of the way. all of our focus is just here. And the mind often is the thing. If you look at tarot cards, if you look at most of the tarot cards, have a lot of negative connotations. 10 of Swords, 3 of Swords, 8 of Swords. There's a lot of them that are very much all about where the mind is overcluttered, we're imprisoned by it, and it tends to rule us a lot of the time. So we need to come back to heart, intuition, energy, soul, which is what we really are. And the reason I'm talking about this is because today we're going to be talking about trauma. Exactly what is trauma? It's a word that's thrown around. Where does it come from? What does it do to us? Let's use romantic trauma, a common one, right? We have someone that, commits to us. We believe they love us unconditionally, and then they go behind our back and they sleep with someone else, for example. Okay. So that's cheating. So what we have there is naturally the thoughts leading away from that are, I don't trust, I'll never trust again. And that then leads to a change in behavior, change in who you are, how you relate to things, and the ripple effect changes what is attracted to us. But let's just take a little bit more of a deeper dive there, because I want to explain something here. That all trauma is caused in the mind, and only in the mind. Okay? Hence, 3 of Swords. That's exactly what the principle of 3 of Swords talks about. The mind creating emotional anguish. And there's what's called the cognitive triangle, which explains that thoughts lead to feelings, and feelings lead to actions, and then actions lead to more thoughts, right? So there's a triangle of this going on, right? That's well known, right? So someone cuts you up at the lights, for example, right? You then think, oh, damn you, how dare you do this to me, etc. Creates feelings of frustration. Then that ripples down to an action of beeping, slamming on the brakes. Then because you've done that, someone beeps at you behind, you then think, then that leads to more thoughts on, I'm so frustrated, how dare you, this, that, and the other. Round to more feelings of frustration, more actions, speeding, whatever it is. You can see how that loops round and around and round and round and round. Okay. But what I'm trying to explain there is that there is what's called a mental stoking. Imagine that your emotions are like a furnace, right? Whenever you say something with conviction, you judge something in a certain way, feelings, you add meaning, you accredit meaning to something, okay? And this is the difference. When someone cuts you up at the lights, that's either someone just taking an action to move their steering wheel to move in front of you, because they are desperately trying to rush their dying family member to a hospital, of which you'd be like, whoa, fair enough, that's necessary. Or it's someone that's an arrogant so-and-so that just thinks he's better than me and he needs to be taught a lesson, depending on the meaning we attribute it, okay? And the emotion that follows is all based upon the meaning that we place on an event, okay? And that needs to be deeply understood, because there's a fundamental aspect of life which showcases that, and this has been backed up by a lot of psychological studies, that the feelings that we feel come from the meaning we attribute to sensations or events. The sensation of the light hitting your eyes, the sensation of someone touching your arm, etc. These are attributed meanings based upon beliefs that are deeply ingrained on the inside, that then secrete emotions throughout the body, whether that's cortisol, dopamine, whatever it is, that flows through the body systems, through all the organs, through the bloodstream, etc., as a feeling that's designed to create a physical movement or an action, right? So if it's cortisol, adrenaline, it's priming our body to get into a fight or to steer the car or drive fast or whatever it would be, right? Dopamine triggering us to have like a happy reaction, a sense of reward, that kind of thing, right? But the interesting thing is that emotional reaction, that chemical reaction, stays in the body for approximately 90 seconds. Okay? It flows round. The adrenaline, for example, flows around the body, and you get that that's in your system for 90 seconds, unless there is more stimuli from the mind coming in to reinforce secreting more of that adrenaline. Okay? So let's just use an example. That person cuts you up in the lights, you then brake, you've then got the person behind you going, how dare you, what are you doing? And then you've got the situation here of you then getting angry at that person for beeping at you, and then you look at the timer. Oh, now I'm going to be late to my meeting because I've ended up moving forward and I've crashed into something. And what you have there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many different negative thoughts or frustrating thoughts have they been in a row? So you've then got 90 seconds worth of this energy going through, followed by another 90 seconds, followed by another 90 seconds, followed by another. And what you realize is that we are constantly forging this state based upon meaning we attribute all the time. Okay? All the time. And we do this if we are constantly assessing meaning to everything, we are constantly weaving in emotional reactions. Okay. Now, there's a bit of a secret here that if you find yourself able to detach your meaning from a circumstance, to feel where a feeling is in your body, right? To detach from it, let's just use anger, for example. Where is it in your body? What color does it have? How large does it expand around your body? Okay. Where is it? And if we can observe it without judgment, don't try and label it. Don't try to label, if anything, what it is. Just feel it as a sensation. And all feelings, if they're led to be just observed, not judged or psychoanalyzed, will flow from whatever state they're in. If it's anger, it will flow to eventually to irritation, and then eventually to neutrality, and then to back up to eventually up to peace and be released. And this is something that I've practiced. I've helped many people with this technique. If we can get used to feeling our feelings as sensations, feeling them, you can even do it now whilst you're listening, and you'll find that feelings flow up and they come up to the throat, and you'll either want to yawn, you may even want to giggle, because all feelings flow back to source. My ascended monk guide told me that all feelings are like the energy of water in life. And if you can imagine, ocean is the feeling of divine bliss, joy, and ultimate connection to the universe. Whereas a drop of rain is a separated emotion, such as rage. Now that drips down and then it rolls down a river. And as it rolls down the river, it goes through various stages. It might be rage, and then it might turn into furious anger. It might turn into hatred. It might roll around, but eventually it will evolve and go from that hatred to irritation down to neutrality. And the further and closer it gets back to the sea, the further it comes back to acceptance, forgiveness, peace, acceptance, love. Okay? Love and connection. And Water will do that. All emotion will do that if we don't get this involved. All trauma is in the mind. So if you are going through a stage here where that, even such as a thing, right now, this is a very, very deep subject here, but I'm going to go here because we're talking about trauma. Someone you love deeply died. Okay. Now, this goes into the Eight of Swords, right? The prison, and the Three of Swords inside that. We lock ourselves into a mental prison that we can't see out of. We've all been here. Those of us that have lost loved ones, this goes to the stage where someone that you love dearly in a relationship leaving you. It's the same process, grief. What we do, if we still love them, is that we set ourselves a prison, first of all, of how long we will allow ourselves to feel upset before we allow ourselves to feel happy, right? If any of you have been here, you know what we're talking about, okay? Where there is this weird guilt mechanic where that if someone says, oh, come out, enjoy yourself, look, you need to get out, you will feel guilty as if, oh, no, I shouldn't do that, right? Something about doing that makes you feel like you're being disloyal to the love of the person that you loved. Like I can't allow myself to be happy, right? Again, this is a mental prison, attributing meaning to things. Now, the feeling of loss is simply just that. It's a feeling that swamps over us. And if we can feel it as a sensation that flows through the body, let us cry, let us feel it through. We all get to that. We all know that stage where that we've either cried and we're done. We cry and the emotion's gone. And many of us have been in that place where we've cried and cried and cried and we've kind of almost got bored of it or we're done and it feels good. That's the weird thing that most people don't like to admit, that sometimes crying feels good. It feels good to just get it out. It releases something in the chest and it's like it goes through the throat. The throat aches. The heart feels empty of something. It's gone. But in most situations where grief and loss have occurred, what happens is that we keep ourselves stuck because we damage ourselves with our own thoughts. Okay, we say things to ourselves like, if only I could have done this, if only then I would have been able to prevent this. And, again, if onlys, the self-criticisms, how many of these come in and then we keep doing this to ourselves? And this is where we self-perpetuate our own trauma over and over and over again. And when we do that, it turns into a personality often, right? Sometimes people, if they don't realize that they are creating their state of being, that state of being then starts to trigger thoughts. So feelings trigger thoughts as well. So you trigger the thought in the first place, and then that feeling based upon your action triggers more thoughts of similarity until eventually your emotions that you've created a while back are now controlling you. All right. But it starts here in the first place. All right. But I've talked about that for a reason, because we're talking about trauma, and many of us have romances, situations at work, etc., that play out traumatic patterns in our life, right? And these are occurring in our life because of something going on here. And it's going to be a bit of a theme to some of the readings that I'll be doing for now, for this show. But I will showcase a couple of readings now and to weave that theme in. So I'm just going to have a look at what questions that we have here. Now, we have one that says, my name is April or April. I just need to double check that I'm actually saying that correctly. My question is, will I make the career/job change I would like in the coming months? Thank you. Okay. I'm instantly told that there is an opportunity coming before the end of the year. If anything, I feel like application I've been shown in the month of October is apparent. Okay, so a searching process has already begun, they're saying to me. I also hear for some reason the name Amanda. Okay, this may be someone that's someone that you will have in an interview, or someone that you'll meet in the job role. I'm very aware of my hand for some reason. Have you injured your hand? Or is there something about your hand you need to check out? I'm just aware of the hand, wrist, something like that here. If any, there's something to do with that in this, of course, it's connected to this Amanda person. But ultimately, yes. Will you make the career job change you would like? The answer is yes. Now, since we're weaving in some of this trauma here, in terms of getting you to be aware of this, in order to move forward without bringing trauma with you, one thing I do feel it's important here is that there is a trauma inside your mind that self-perpetuates a exhaustion, overgiving mechanic that seems to be with you. Okay. And this is where, in the past, something that's still running, a mental paradigm that's still running through your energy, through your mind, is that your worth has been sort of attacked. And it feels to me that as I go down to this area around this sort of sacral level here, it's connecting to the base chakra. I would say at some point in your youth, when it goes down to the base chakra, this often deals with youthful experiences here. So in our childhood, usually before the age of 7, sometimes up to 11, but it's around that age, where that, to me, this is a situation of whenever you achieved, it didn't quite feel like you received the same amount of praise as other people, and or you received critique here. You weren't liked as much as others. And then when you did receive some support, some love, it was for when you were overgiving, right? You developed a way of proving your worth through overgiving, giving way too much to prove your worth. So you may have a tendency to chronically overgive and to overexhaust yourself by not knowing your value. So be aware of when you might be doing that within your workplace, so that when you leap into the new workplace, because deep down inside you, the reason why you're getting for the new job is because you want to feel greater significance, more sense of fulfillment on the inside. There is a little bit of work-life balance that seems to be coming into here, but that's something that you're needing to reflect on here. But there's the hope that you'll feel better. Okay, in this new job, I'll feel better. Okay, what will make you feel better? Reflect on that. What is exactly going to make you feel better? Because what really will make you feel better is a change in your identity, how you attribute meaning to your interactions. Being able to say no is a very, very strong thing for you. I only have enough time to do this. I'm busy enough doing this, or I will do it tomorrow. Those kind of things feel very important for your energy, so that you can step into the new job with a new you, right? Because what you're stepping away from is not the job. It might be in certain ways, but it is the you became in the job, the circumstances, the environment that your way of being cultivated. And again, I'm not trying to say that the people in the workplace, we're all perfect. I'm not trying to say that. Okay. But everything's to do with the meaning we attribute to things and the way we react to things. We need to respond and not react. And if we react, we often react from subconscious, which can often be triggered by trauma. Okay. And this is part of all the experiences that we find repeating. How many times have you perhaps experienced going from one job to another, where it's different environment, same emotional process, the same feeling, right? So reflect on whether you can say to yourself in the mirror, I am valuable. My work is valuable. My time is valuable. I will not give it away for free. I will do that which makes me feel like I'm doing enough of a good of a job, but not try to prove to anyone that I'm important. Right? If you're proving to someone you're important, then you need to do inner work. You're already important as you are. Your unique soul is beautiful, important, and worthy as it is. You don't need to prove to anyone. So just catch yourself on when you might be trying to prove your worth or value to someone else, and see if you can step into the new job free from that pain, free from that cycle. Okay. And thank you very much for your question. It does feel like, in stepping forwards to this, that there will be brighter horizons, especially if you are acknowledging what I've mentioned there. So you just acknowledged before I kind of conclude that everything in our external life comes from the inside. Everything. The outer world follows the inner world. If the world is treating us in not a good way, it's because we are not treating or respecting ourselves. Okay? So we have to have a real good look at that. Anyway, I'll leave that there with you. So just using that as an example there, that we do have situations like there where that an internal state of being that is maintained within our mindset is something that self-perpetuates and self-fulfills itself. And I'll use the analogy here as well, where that this is gauged by our ability to connect into a state of consciousness and awareness, right? And awareness is something that's built up over time, but it does tend to fall into some distinct categories. There is something that is called the consciousness scale, which is something you can probably research by Hawkins. And that deals with where that we can gauge where our feelings are at, right? What predominant feeling we spend most of the time at. And it oscillates with a vibrating frequency. And what we find here, and we've all experienced this, if we have perpetuated feelings that are controlled by the mind, okay, that are stuck at guilt, shame, and anger, right? What we find here is that those states are spawned out of us. We magnetize those states to us. So it's like a magnet. Whatever feeling that you have is the magnet that you're attracting to you. So if you're feeling angry, you're going to attract angry environments, angry people, and things in your life that will make you feel angry. Okay? It's the one beautiful law of the universe. But we just need to learn how to use it. Upgrade your mind, body, and spirit, right? We need to realize that if our life isn't going the way that we want it to go, perhaps there are some deeply ingrained beliefs on the inside that are warring against us, that are singing to a different tune to what our head is wanting, right? Now, many of us can fall into this mindset that, like, a poor me mindset, playing the violin, where why does everyone cheat on me, for example? That one, using romance one. Why are people just always doing this to me, right? We're stuck in a victim mindset. We've got the emotion of guilt and shame, which will lead us to not feel valuable enough to perhaps go for someone who's got their life in order, right? And what tends to happen is we're constantly living in a place of guilt, shame, unworthiness. emotionally, we will be pulled to people who resonate on that same emotional frequency, right? So we'll be drawn to that guy or girl that is suffering from guilt and shame, and maybe they drink to make that guilt and shame go away, but for some reason you're attracted to that sort of energy. And this is where the whole attraction to sort of bad boy energy can come in certain scenarios with, whatever it would be, or men that are attracted to women that are just not available for them or not interested, because there's this, if you feel shameful on the inside, you feel like you're punishing yourself for something you've done in the past, you don't feel good enough, you're going to perpetuate that feeling. If you don't feel good enough, you'll attract to you someone that you don't feel is worthy enough, makes you feel unworthy or not good enough. They won't reply to your messages, etc. But the way you self-perpetuate that continued relationship is by putting up with it. If someone doesn't respond to you, it makes you feel not loved, not wanted, but you still allow yourself to relate to them, right? And how many of us have been here? I know I'm talking here from a point of view where that I'm in a sort of zenful moment, but I have been down that rabbit hole of low self-worth and inappropriate connections romantically, work-wise, in situations with friends and other things. I've been down that stage and worked very strongly within a meditational practice and a reflective practice for many, many years, helping people with this process. So I know it both personally and with those that I work with, that there is a correlation, a mechanic that seems to be working, where that what you feel on the inside is always drawn to you externally. And we just need to be very aware of that. And so, as an exercise for those of you that are watching, what predominant feeling is inside you most of the time? What do you feel most of the time every day? Okay. Be honest with yourself, because this, if you want to impress people, you can say, yeah, I feel love and hope and optimism all the time. If that's all you feel all the time, then your life would reflect that around you, right? There are beautiful people that have felt that all the time, and these are people that make the most wonderful, great acts. These are the legends that exist in the world, like the Mother Teresas or the Gandhis or whatever. These people that can get themselves into a state of raw love and attunement most of the time. I say most because we're still here in a human body and a human experience, right? And it's a level or a vibration that we feel the majority of the time, okay? But it's something that we need to be very aware of. But be honest with yourself, because it won't help you if you're not being honest with yourself. And a lot of us like to lie to ourselves. Let's be honest with ourselves there. How many times do we lie to ourselves? If we went for a run and someone said, oh, did you have a good run? How far did you run? There's a slight tendency to go, well, we know it was like 3.5 miles or something. And you would go, oh, yeah, it's 4 miles. How many times do we do that? Simple little lie. Doesn't hurt anyone. But why do we do it? Right? And we do it when we assess our emotions as well. Be honest with yourself. Are there any trends during certain times of the day where you'll feel a certain feeling that's, let's just say you wake up, maybe you wake up and you're groggy and you're tired and you're irritable, right? So for a portion of that day, you're feeling peeved off, irritated. You get into your car, or you grab your car, and at a certain point when you've got your coffee, for example, you might be feeling pretty good at that stage. Maybe you're feeling like, okay, I like listening to this tune on the radio. I've got my coffee. We're on time, whatever. They were feeling okay. We're feeling contented at that time, right? But then maybe we get into work and we're stressed out, doing stuff, got targets to meet, an ex contacts us, we then feel irritation, jealousy, whatever it would be. Just have a think of overall, what is the predominant feeling over all of your days that permeates your life? Okay. And what do you think you could do to change that feeling? Right? What can you do to make it so that if we're looking at it as a a chart, like a pie chart, yeah? What's the biggest chunk of that pie chart? If you were to put all your feelings down, how much of it do you feel, right? I know it's difficult to gauge, but what can you do to make it so that you can feel more of the feelings you would love to feel? And then just have a look at, if you're honest with yourself, if you keep having frustrating situations with people in your life, how often are you feeling in a personal state of frustration? And I want to go a little step deeper. How much are you relying on external circumstances to make you feel that way? Right? If you send a message out to a partner and they don't message you back, are you relying on that message coming back and a certain response to make you feel a certain way? Are you putting the power of your feelings into someone else's actions? We have the ability to control our feelings. Okay. Now, when you listen to a little bit of music, is it the music that's making you relax? Or is it the fact that your brain is switching off and stops sending these messages that wind you up and rile you up all the time? The mind is switched off. And then suddenly you allow yourself to relax because your mind is not constantly throwing stuff at it to wind itself up all the time. Again, this is just me talking quite deeply about trauma and how to come back to ourself, right? Coming back to ourself is when the mind is not involved. Now, I was having a deep conversation about this with a good friend of mine the other day, very spiritual chap, and about how that many people are lost in the mind. They're thinking before they're saying. They're never present. And when we're present, there's nothing going through our minds. We are in a state of being, where our feelings and our thoughts weave into each other without the thoughts leading. And so as I'm talking now, I'm not thinking about what I'm going to say before I say. I just say. There is no pre-thinking going on. And that's a sense of being. And in astrology, we call that the sun. It's who we are. And we need to look quite deeply at what our emotional state is in. And realize that we can actually make ourselves feel whatever we want. We just need to practice it. Right? Simple little thing of relaxing the heart, focusing on the body, and actually just feeling your body, just feeling into your bones, feeling into the joints. If we just do it, it actually feels nice. Just feel your body. Just feel it. Like do a body scan as if you're sensing with your mind bits of your body. I find feeling the bones is a really helpful thing because most people don't think about that. How do they feel? How dense are they? When you do that, it feels nice to just do that. Instantly, that puts anyone, if they do it properly, into a Zen-like state of oneness. And if we keep doing that, we'll just feel good. We just will. And the more we feel that on the inside more regularly, and the more we realize we have a state of control over what we feel, more regularly our pie chart will start to skew more and more and more to a positive overall feeling, and we will start to attract more positive overall experiences into our lives. So if you're feeling that you've got trauma over and over and over again, have a look at what feelings are creating those traumas. Okay. I'm just going to look at another question here. Let's see what we have here. Now, this one is from the lovely Celine. It says, "Hi, this is Celine. May I have a card to give me some guidance? Thank you." Okay. Now, I don't actually use the cards, but what I will ask here is for card symbolism here. Now, one that I'm being shown here is actually Sonosa's card, which is actually the devil card here. And this is accompanied by the Two of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. Now, again, I don't deal with the cards, but I understand their meanings. Well, I used to use the cards quite heavily, but I don't anymore. Now, the devil card deals with quite an interesting perspective, okay? That deals with being aware of enthrallment or entrapment and being driven by love. It's quite interesting that's come up. Being aware of low vibration attachment. So this is where, for example, we will find ourselves being addicted to drink, being addicted to sex, being addicted to attention, addicted to comfort zone and stimulation and that kind of thing, okay? And what I would say here is that you could very well be dealing with a process of reflecting on who is controlling you. What is controlling you? What do you feel compulsively drawn to? Is someone using control mechanics on you? And since there is the Two of Pentacles here, I would say there's some instability around usually work, okay? This is to do with what you're doing in your life, what you're committed to, what your value, your worth is on a deep level, okay? But the Two of Pentacles, this deals with change is in the air. You may have some instability around work, okay? You've got to make a choice here, which makes sense as to why I've been given the Ace of Swords, because that deals with clarity, right? So clarity is coming, but you need to find that mental clarity, which I'll talk about. But the Devil card being one of the major arcana here, this is painting the overarching theme, the underlying energetic mechanic here. You may have someone within workplace that is literally controlling you, being a narcissist, being deliberately trying to push you around, or someone in your personal life even, because I feel like it blurs within your life here. Again, reflecting on the fact that we've just talked about how that our feel state often perpetuates what it's attracted to us. You will likely have someone that's trying to control you for their own ends, for their own agenda, okay? And to just have a good reflect on what you put your attention on, right? Now, are you putting the majority of your attention on doing what pleases others, doing what you feel you have to do? Do you feel in some way imprisoned? You don't have a choice, right? Have a look at that. What is the underlying reason as to why you don't have a choice? Who's pulling the strings in your life? Is it you? Are you ruling your life? If not, who's ruling your life? What's ruling your life? Is it survival? Is it money in some way? Is it, what is it? What's ruling your life? Have a reflect on that and see from a place of Ace of Swords, which is the Ace of Swords deals with clarity because the mind is still. Now, in many card decks, what you'll see is the Ace of Swords represented as a sword coming out of the water, right? Or just by itself, like in a still environment. And that represents the stillness of the water, is what's represented in many card decks. And that represents the ability for it to come from a still emotional state, right? When there is calm, okay? So get yourself into a stage where you feel deeply calm, right? Heighten your frequency, listen to something that makes you feel good, feel a state of love, understand deeply. This is a wonderful belief system to bring into your mind that, and say this regularly to yourself. Anyone listening to this, say this every day to yourself, okay? That I live in a supportive environment or life that is always supporting me, right? I live in a friendly universe that's always supporting me, okay? As opposed to a hostile. And this is one of Einstein's quotes. The biggest question we need to ask ourselves is, do we live in a friendly or hostile world, right? Because whatever we believe, we will prove true. Okay, we will prove it true. Our beliefs pull in what we receive. Okay, so sit there basking in the fact that we live in a friendly universe. There are beautiful entities. The energy of God, universe, eternal source is supporting us through this law of attraction, this law of energy, the law of balance, many different laws that are out there. And if you get yourself into that state of feeling beautifully at one with knowing that so long as your vibration's up, by vibration I mean you're in a state of feeling peace and love, and get yourself there, because we can all do that. There's no excuses. You're like, oh, I can't change my feeling. Well, if you can't change your feeling, try. Have a go. Sometimes people say they can't change their feelings because they've just never tried. And it's a little bit difficult. They try and meditate and then their mind skates off and I can't do it, etc. Just sitting down for 5 minutes or whatever isn't actually committing to it. Okay, so if you want to change your life, start committing to your inner world. If you get yourself into that, and this is your message, get yourself to that state where you're in a peaceful, calm moment, and then ask your heart. Don't ask your mind. Your mind's out of the way. Do the practice of feeling your body, for example, feeling your bones. Get yourself into a stillness. Life's got your back. And then ask your heart, what do I need to do? What choice do I need to make here? Moving ahead. What feels right for my growth and my happiness? And let your heart lead you. Right? That's what I would say when looking at this Two of Pentacles. Choice, instability. What leads me to greater happiness, greater worth, greater fulfillment, and see what comes to you. Okay, but allow the heart to choose, not the head. That's really what the Ace of Swords is. That moment where you're walking along in a state of peace, or you wake up from sleep and you go, aha, I got it. Right? It comes out of nowhere. So it does not come out of deductive thought and analysis. It will pop out of the blue. It will just go boom. Right? And so you may just receive it in a meditation if it's going, what should I do? And then just feel around. And then it will just go, oh, I didn't think of that. Or you can prime yourself and then go on a beautiful walk where you're just observing. And again, observation is the key to switching the mind off and being in bliss. Right? Observe the beauty around you. And then out of nowhere, you've already primed your mind. I'm looking for the answers. Your subconscious, God, higher self, will come in and deliver the answers to you when your mind's not throwing lots of noise in the way, trying to figure it out with the ego's brain. You know, the brain is the ego. It wants to be right. It wants to figure everything out. Deliver it to the universe through meditation, right? In a meditative state, say, oh, I want an answer to this. Then go out, observe the beauty of life, and then suddenly you'll get bingo. The answer comes. Okay, that's my understanding of where the Ace of Swords comes from, which is why it's one of the most beautiful cards in the Swords deck, in my opinion. Because most of the other swords, like you even got the Seven of Swords, that sort of deals with something doesn't add up. It's that Seven of Swords is someone that's there going, oh, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why is this? Again, it's that deductive, which leads you around in a spiral. You know, so you've got Four of Swords, which is that moment of peace. Fair enough, right? That's one of the swords that is where it's the mindset of we need to make peace. Okay, on balance, we need to talk things through. Let's stop arguing, right? So there are some other swords that deal with that. But to me, that's my interpretation. And the good thing about the cards is that they're always open to interpretations. But I hope that makes sense for those cards. Okay, now you can feel free to research them yourself. That was the Devil card, the Two of Pentacles, and Ace of Swords. But that's my interpretation of what those mean and what they may mean for you in your life. Okay, I also just heard the name Thomas that felt important for you for some reason. Okay. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention here is that within this process of coping mechanisms, that we hear of. Okay, this process of trauma, coping mechanisms are a big aspect of what people often don't realize has become their personality, right? It's someone that's a drinker. It's a coping mechanism for stress, but they consider themselves that no, I just love a good drink, right? When they boil down to why do you do it? I don't know. It's just a social thing. I just go out there and socialize. Okay, so what purpose does the drink deal with? And they'll go, well, everyone drinks. Well, I'm just having a drink. I enjoy it. What are you getting on about? They almost start to get a bit defensive at that point. What do you mean? And you'll notice when someone's got a coping mechanism, when you push, because they start to do that back at you. What do you mean? I have every right to do it. If it's a coping mechanism, it will be there to try to prevent someone from going to the emotional state that they don't want. Okay? So some people get caught up into coping mechanisms as being who they are. Right? Work is one example. They're in a relationship where they're not happy. And so their way of avoiding having to go home and deal with the potential emotional conflict is to call up and go, oh, I'm going to get stuck at work. I'm just got so much work to do. And then that turns into a habit, right? And then for some reason, they sort of enjoy working extra hard. Well, in fact, they're just enjoying not being stressed out by having to face the problem they can't face. And the workaholic is a coping mechanism, right? And that becomes who they are. So really what I want to be talking about here is ways in which that we can all use this moment that I've been talking now, this time that I've been discussing trauma, looking at our coping mechanisms, looking at how our mind and our emotions work, and looking at the things that we don't like in our life and our regular feelings and going, what exactly am I experiencing? Why am I experiencing that? And how am I the cause, right? Now, this is the big moment of transformation. When we realize this is one statement that rings true to everyone if they truly accept it, right? That I am responsible for everything in my life, good or bad. I am responsible. Okay? So everything that's going out, and there's a lot of people, if they're in, poor me, will be shouting at the screen, no, I'm not. I didn't choose this, that, and the other to happen to me. Like, there's a difference between reacting to something and responding to something. Even such a thing as someone tries to, maybe someone stole your money or you got beaten up or something. You either turn into someone that hates the world and feels like the world's a horrible place and goes out as a vigilante trying to tell everyone that, don't walk down the alleyways at night, don't trust anything. You can either turn into that, which is being you've molded from that emotional experience, or you understand that that person was going through a really struggling stage psychologically themselves. They'd fallen into such a survival mode that they felt like that's the only thing they had to do. And they were forced, peer pressured into feeling that their ego had to do it to feel like a man. They had maybe someone threatening to hurt someone that they needed. And so just taking some money off you was their coping mechanism for dealing with that. And to understand, if anything, that maybe the right action there is to transcend the pain into healing, setting up a youth academy to bring people together so that they can feel camaraderie, so they don't have to go and take the money from others, right? This is the journey of the soul, right? Things occur outside that are neutral. Is one thing that I heard from my guide, is that the beauty about this life is everything is neutral. We add meaning to it. So we may attribute a negative connotation to something, but know that that is what we are doing to ourselves through that label. The ability to reframe something, it may be pouring down with rain when you want it to be sunny, but if you can sit there and appreciate it, enjoy that life is just a beautiful change, and you can learn to dance in the rain. That's what the saying's about. you realize that you learn to master your own life in many different ways. And I focused on this quite deeply because it is at the root of so many things that we deal with. The shadow work that we've probably all know about if we're in the spiritual world. Many of us will be if you're watching this. But when we delve into the inner world, we realize essentially that we are facing ourselves. We're facing aspects of ourselves that we don't want to see. Maybe when someone offends us, which is one thing that I'm very strongly against. If someone offends me, I thank them for the insight that I know is going to come. Because if I'm offended, it's because my ego wants me to be seen in a certain way. Okay? So if someone says something to you, you effing this, that, and the other, if you believe it on some deep level, it will wound you. Okay? And some people will say, oh, it's not that. It's just because I don't want to be disrespected. Well, if you allow yourself to be upset by being disrespected, then you are not respecting your own value system yourself. So you are disrespecting yourself by allowing yourself to be offended. So if you are offended by anything that someone else does, you're either placing too much expectation on them, or you have some internal stuff that you need to work through. In most cases, it's both. Okay. But there is a big culture sweeping around the world of easily offended, and that everyone needs to adjust to everyone else's emotions. And those are just people that haven't worked through their own inner work. They haven't been the brave spiritual warrior that can delve into the unknown. That's what spiritual warrior is all about. It's about being able to do the hard work to slay the internal dragon, which might be the mind's creation of trauma. Again, things happen that to many of us that we, like I say, muggings and abuse and all these kind of things and abandonment and all these kind of things, they all happen. But it all boils down to how we frame that, how we look at it. And how we look at it will define our emotional experience and the life that we live. Right? We can either turn into a hero or a victim, a victor or a victim. What are you? Are you someone that raises up, overcomes, and transmutes your pain into something that heals the world and prevents more of what you had occur to you? Or are you someone that is going to be ruled by that and self-perpetuates that for the rest of your life because you feel justified in maintaining your belief system on what occurred? It's really up to you. And that's what I've been doing here in the Mind Body Spirit Upgrade Hour, is highlighting trauma, what it is, where it comes from, and that helping us all to realize that we are all able to control that by being able to control our thoughts and our feelings, our judgments on things. The more observant we are and less judgmental of sensations, behaviors, etc., the more in bliss that we will find ourselves being, the better our life will become. Okay. I know this has been me talking an awful lot about a lot of reflective stuff, but I want to thank those of you that have been watching. We've got those of you that are on Facebook here. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Aftekar Jonas. Thank you very much for joining in, connecting with us. And for anyone else who's been watching that hasn't said hi, I do want to say thank you very much for tuning in, and those that have sent in their messages. I wanted to showcase this beautiful moment here for everyone to gain control of their trauma. Okay. And hopefully this time will be something that will have a wonderful, peaceful effect on the rest of your day. But for those of you that have been watching me and you're curious to see what I might be able to pick up or connect on with you, I'll be logging on for the next hour, or maybe more, on pin number 500-321. Okay. So if you want to get hold of me, I'll be doing that. Literally, the moment that this shuts down, I'll be logging on here and you'll be able to talk to me. So Anyway, hope you've had a wonderful mind, body, spirit upgrade hour, and I will see you next Thursday at 2 p.m. Bye for now.